Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. On Fridays, we talk about the product owner role in Scrum. We talk about patterns and anti-patterns that relate to ours and the team's collaboration with the product owner. And we've also put together a course to help you navigate that relationship. There's 18 modules, nearly 8 hours of tools, techniques, videos, handouts, presentations you can use to help you and your team work better with your product owner. The course is available at bit.ly/coachyourPO. All lowercase, all one word. That's bit.ly/coachyourPO. And now, on to the show, the Product Owner Show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Friday TGIF and also Product Owner episode this week with Steve Silbert. Hi, Steve. Welcome back.
Hi, Vasco. Hi.
So on Fridays, we talk product owners. And to get us started, we'll talk about a good one later, perhaps even a perfect one later. But let's start with the anti-pattern. Those are always a lot more fun anyway. So what's possibly the worst product owner anti-pattern you've witnessed in your career, Steve?
I've done this when coaching product owners in organizations where I basically have them write down everything bad that can possibly be about a product owner and then go to a different sheet and put the absolute reverse of all those so you can see what that unicorn product owner looks like. I think the biggest, most devastating pattern has got to be that command and control product owner. You will get this done in this sprint. And oh, by the way, here's another bug, and we got production support, and it's all top priority. So it's really the old school project manager who's now a product owner, but acting like a project manager. That's probably the most devastating anti-pattern I've ever encountered.
It's funny that you mentioned that because in my own experience, it's actually quite common that, especially in companies that have what they call technical product owners, it's quite common to have that kind of mindset in old project managers that are upgraded to technical product owners. And then they start using their old methods with this new role. And of course, for us as Scrum Masters, one of the key questions is, okay, so but how do I help a team and a product owner that is in this situation? So what has worked for you, Steve?
Yeah, the technical product owner, it's all your air quotes. I do the same thing. It's an intriguing wrinkle when a company goes through some sort of evolutionary process towards agility. It's like, we don't want to get rid of our BAs, so we're going to make them technical product owners. And that's fine. With that, it's really about teaching them to back away from some of those practices and understand, take them through some exercises to show them that everything can't be the top priority. I did this with a group of product owners that were in a power utility, that there were 4 different director levels that were basically acting as the product owner for a team. And it was kind of important stuff: payroll, benefits, learning, those types of things. And every one of them was yelling louder. So what you had is 4 high-level people trying to overshout each other to get their command and control stuff at the top of the list. So what I did was I had written down, gone through and interviewed, and found the 109 projects that the collective that they wanted to do, and I put them all on cards, closed the room, threw the cards on the table, and said, prioritize them and let the cage fighting begin. And there was yelling, there was screaming, there was tearing up cards. And what ended up happening is that the learning management, the training stuff went to the bottom, and all of the payroll and benefits stuff went to the top, because of course it's payroll and benefits. And then I told them, I said, good, you got it? This is 2 hours later. We got it. Phew. Bandages, the broken bones, blood, all this stuff. They've got it. They've shaken hands. They've decided they're not going to hurt each other anymore. I said, do you realize you only have 3 developers to do these things? that opened a series of conversations where I started to reframe language with them. Started talking to them about time criticality, about effort in terms of sizing, about the risk of doing something and the risk of not doing something. And once you teach them that shared language, it's basically the components that go into like a WSGIF prioritization technique. Now the conversation becomes different. Oh, yeah, learning management training always goes to the bottom. Hey, we're a power utility. The training that we do is for line workers. And if we don't do this, then someone could get hurt. All of a sudden, once you start conveying vision and purpose in a civil, non-yelling manner, now the person that has payroll goes, oh, I understand. So let's figure out how to interleave your work with some of the payroll work, and there's some less critical things. And now you've got an interleaved, intermingled, basically value-driven backlog. And in this case, this company it had the other direction. They didn't have headcount to actually have a product owner. So what I did was I talked to them about the goals of product management, and we built a product management team with a shared language, with a common vision, with an eye on functionality, thinking tactically, but really operating from a strategic level, and understanding each other's domain, at least enough to have a legitimate conversation.
Absolutely. That's a great story, by the way. All right. Now we want the best example, potentially the best product owner you've ever worked with.
Oh, wow. I was working at a bank, and we were in a brand new area that had gotten renovated. The room had sit-stand desks of banks of 8, 4 facing each other. And I had the opportunity to help design the seating chart. So I put the product owners in one corner of the room. So the group of 8 was Scrum Master, product owner, developer, tester, developer, something like that. So it was great because that face-to-face communication and that short feedback loop turned into, hey, I just finished this. Can you take a look at this? So he leans over, looks, says, that's good, keep going. What that reinforced, and I did a lot of coaching with this person to get him to understand what was happening, was that he had to be the master of his domain. He had to understand the strategic vision. The backlog had to be the ultimate embodiment of his articulated view of how or what we're trying to get done and why. He needed to be good at being able to storytell. So we actually worked on how to tell stories in a way that developers could understand it and that was engaging. And where this went is it went so far as once I introduced personas, the team really talked the product owner through who the different customer types were, and we named them. And what the team decided to do was actually create Java classes for each persona. So now you've taken storytelling from an ownership from a product perspective to understanding your customer base and being able to communicate that to your developers actually coding your customer base into the code base so that the coding is efficient. So, I mean, that short feedback loop, that ownership was just such a great experience. I should have teams like that all the time.
Absolutely. It also sounds like as you were working with the team, you were also kind of telling them a story of how to collaborate. Like first, sit together, right? Then when you start talking to each other, okay, so what do we need to talk about, right? And then giving the product owner the ability to tell stories, which in the end, that's what he needs to do. And then helping create the persona idea and, kind of instantiate that idea for that particular context that led to the team saying, hey, why don't we just write code with those guys in mind? And like it sounds like also like as we as Scrum Masters, of course, and Agile coaches, as we learn to work with product owners, we think about, or we can think about it as slowly growing a story of a great team also through the product owner perspective. So not just the team perspective, but also through the product owner perspective.
Yeah, and it takes a special person. Product ownership is a skill; it's a discipline. But the curiosity to learn is not a skill. It's something that we need to recognize and grow within us. So with this person that I'm talking about, that he was open to learning how to tell stories. I mean, we used Rory story cubes over and over and over, and said, okay, tell me a story based on what you see, until he got better at it. And once he got good at that, he's like, I want to learn how to do this better. I said, okay, I draw. So let's start talking about how you storyboard. So I actually taught him how to draw people and how to draw stories and frames, and then how to engage the team in that activity, to the point where we were able to do collaborative storyboarding and take a good idea that he had and turn it into a great idea with the technical perspective from the team embedded in it.
No, absolutely. That's a great and inspiring story. Steve, unfortunately, we're getting close to the week with you. So first, you said you had a sketch note of a great PO. So if you could send me the link, I'll put the link in the show notes so that people can go and check it out. But otherwise, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
Probably the easiest place is Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Steve Silbert. Instagram by the same thing. My website is kind of inactive, but it's a place, at least as a launching point. It's stevesilbert.com, and I'm active in meetups around the world. So yeah, I might just show up in Berlin one day. I don't know, maybe Helsinki.
Absolutely. I think you'd love it. Steve, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you. I've loved doing this.
One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over, but there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. Join us at scrummastertoolbox.com/podcast and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more week full of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.